On Thursday, we talked about the breaking news that came out from the U.S. Supreme Court, which ruled 9-0. Now, first off, I'll just tell you, when it's 9-0, you got to take note because the court is so ideologically divided. That means something significant happened or something that really didn't matter a whole lot happened. In this case, I think it was significant. This was the Fulton versus Philadelphia case. And today I want to highlight this substantial win for religious freedom and dive deeper into the decision which prohibits the city of Philadelphia or any other government entity there from discriminating against organizations because of their religious beliefs. Now, there are some issues here. They didn't go far, as the court has done in many cases in recent years, very narrow decisions, but still it's a victory. And I'm going to start by talking with the head of another faith-based social service group that refuses to deny or in any way surrender their religious freedom when it comes to whether or not they're going to serve in terms of adoptions and foster care. Now, we've seen in the past where other Christian organizations have, capitulated. And I tell you what, I applaud those entities that are not going to surrender the very thing that motivates them to do what they do. Because you will not be able to go the distance. If you surrender what it is that gives you the motivation, that drives you to serve and help others, if you surrender the very core of that, our Christian faith, you're not going to make it. You're not going to go the distance. Well, one of those entities that says, hey, we celebrate this victory, but I'm just going to tell you right now, we're drawing a line. We'll never surrender. We'll never back up. And that is the president of Lifeline Christian Services, Herbie Newell. Herbie, welcome to the program.
Tony, thanks for having me. And we are very excited about this decision and what it means for the future of child welfare, and especially for Christians and for people of other faiths to participate in a very important sector of our society.
This is, to be clear, and just to echo what others have said, this is not about prohibiting anyone else from being able to adopt. In this case, Philadelphia demanded that Catholic services, social services, place children with same-sex couples. They said, we can't do that. It violates the tenets of our faith. But they could easily go someplace else, and they have. And they've gotten foster care, they've gotten children through foster care and other things. So this is about entities such as yours just saying, look, this is who we are, and we need to have the opportunity to operate according to those beliefs.
Right. And even as you started off this section, Tony, I think it's so important for us to also understand, especially those of us who are faith-based, and for us that are based on the Word of God, the Bible. The only thing that is unshakable is the Word of God and the foundations of truth that we have. And if we're going to continue to capitulate to whatever culture finds as the relevant truth of the day, then we're going to constantly be shifting our position, shifting our modules, and shifting the way that we serve. And as a faith-based organization, and specifically for Lifeline, as a Christian organization that's based on the Word of God, we want to serve the most vulnerable, and we want to do it in the way that we know how to do it, in the way that compels us to do it. And it's so important, even as you look across our country, it is particularly faith-based communities, Christian communities that are reaching out to help in child welfare, that are reaching out to adopt and foster. We need these families. And unfortunately, it's these families whose ability and rights have been infringed upon in the last several years. And this is a great victory to say, hey, everyone's rights need to be protected in the same way, not just those of that are contrary to biblical values, but also the religious, the faith-based, and those that are based on a biblical worldview.
And Herbie, it's been kind of a passing focus in this discussion, but I want to step back for just a moment and talk about the severity of the need. It's only increasing as more and more children, because of the breakup of families, because of dysfunctional families, because of no families at all, because of drug addiction, we're seeing a huge number of children that need a place. And more Christians, and I hear it all the time as I talk to people, feel compelled that this is a way that they can help and minister, but they want to work through an agency like yours.
That's right. And I can just echo, the need is getting greater, especially in our own country, in our foster care system. More children are being separated from their biological families because of abuse or neglect, or simply because their parents can't find the income to be able to support them. And it's Christian communities that have leaned in the past and are needed now to lean in a huge way to wrap around these kids and to give them a home and to give them a family. Today we are just one day removed, obviously, from Father's Day. And it was back in the 60s that Patrick Moynihan actually authored a report. And in the Moynihan report, he said the American family is breaking down. And if we don't address it, we're going to have huge future issues that are going to have to be addressed. And that report ended up being very prophetic, as it stated that the breakdown of family would lead to more and more children separated from the nuclear family and much more vulnerable. And we're seeing that happen today. And even on the heels of a global pandemic, we're seeing many, many more kids that are in need. And so this is not a time in our country, in our cities, and in our states to be precluding religious and faith-based organizations from helping. This is a time that we need to be inviting them to help. And for those families, many of them feel the comfort and they feel the freedom to be able to work with religious organizations, faith-based organizations, Christian organizations, because they know they share the same values and that they have the same vernacular and that they have the same calling and they have the same mandate for the reason that they're helping in the first place.
Herbie, you've made very clear that the government should not be discouraging or discriminating against religious organizations, but at the same time, you would say that religious organizations should in no way surrender who they are in order to participate in this process.
Absolutely. We cannot surrender who we are, but we've got to stand firm on who we are.
All right, Herbie Newell, thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to encourage people to take a look at your organization, because those are the type we need to be supporting and standing with and working with. So Herbie, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.